Chosen one, lock your attention on this message right now. That urge you have to fix it, to step in, to make it right. Stop. Do not move. The enemy is working overtime this week, for one reason and one reason only. He knows that if he can get you to step into what God has already planned to handle, he can delay everything that was assigned to arrive in your life tomorrow. It all ends now. The confusion about whether to act or wait. The anxiety about whether staying out of it means you're giving up. The war inside your chest telling you that silence equals defeat. But here's the part you cannot afford to miss. The resolution isn't coming in spite of your stillness. It's coming because of it. Think back to that moment earlier this week when everything inside you wanted to respond. When you almost picked up that phone. When you almost walked back into that room. When you almost sent that message. You pulled back. Maybe you don't even know why. Maybe it felt like weakness in the moment, like you were surrendering something precious. You didn't know it then, but that pause, that one act of restraint, was a divine interception. That was not hesitation. That was obedience. And that obedience just became the most powerful thing you have ever done. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. The Holy Spirit did. This is a divine appointment, written before the foundations of the earth, assigned to find you in the exact season when the enemy is trying to convince you that waiting is weakness. In the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the exact decree that covers your position right now. I am going to walk you through the divine audit that reveals why God told you to stay out of it, and what He is doing inside that situation while you are standing still. And at the end, we are going to seal this with a declaration that locks your obedience in as a legal weapon against every assignment that has been sent to bait you back in. Do not click away. Your future self is on the other side of this message. If you leave now, you risk walking back into a plan that God specifically told you He would handle without you. My name is Zerekiel. I have spent years studying the hidden patterns of the spirit realm, the warfare, the divine setups, the moments when God's plan requires your absence, not your effort. And I have walked over 10,000 chosen ones through the seasons when staying still felt like dying. If this is your first time here, subscribe and hit the notification bell right now. Not because I need the numbers, but because the next message I release might be the exact one written for the war you do not see coming yet. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere has not just been tense, it has been loud. Not loud with noise, but loud with pressure. The kind of pressure that makes you feel like if you do not do something right now, everything is going to fall apart. Maybe you have been watching a situation unfold from a distance, feeling like the longer you stay out of it, the worse it gets. Maybe you sat with your phone in your hand this week, drafted something, deleted it, drafted it again, and then just stared at the screen, wondering if your silence is making things worse. Or maybe you woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning this week with your chest tight, replaying every detail of what happened, calculating what you should have said, what you should have done, what you could still do to turn this around. You feel like you are on the outside of something that belongs to you, watching, waiting, and not knowing if the waiting is faith or fear. And in that space, the enemy has started whispering a very specific lie. He is telling you that God helps those who help themselves. He is replaying every moment you stayed silent and calling it cowardice. He is pointing to the situation that still has not resolved and saying, "See, nothing is happening because you are not doing anything." He is telling you that your restraint is the reason the blessing has stalled. That if you had just stepped in sooner, none of this would still be unresolved. That staying out of it is not obedience. It is passivity. It is giving up. It is letting the enemy win by doing nothing. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Exodus 14:14 says, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Listen to that verdict. The Lord will fight for you, not alongside you, not after you try and fail and come crawling back exhausted. He will fight for you, and the only thing required of you is stillness. This is not a passive word. In the original Hebrew, the stillness commanded here is a military term. It means to hold your position, to maintain your post, to not abandon the ground you are standing on. You are not doing nothing. You are holding your post. The enemy is trying to trick you into believing that the absence of your action means the absence of God's action. He wants you to think the stillness is a void, but the stillness is a battlefield, and God is moving inside it right now in ways your eyes are not equipped to see yet. You are not in a standoff. You are in a setup. The heaviness you feel is not the weight of abandonment. It is the weight of a plan too large for your hands to carry, being carried by hands that were never going to let you fall. The pressure in your chest is not God's absence pressing down on you. It is His presence surrounding a situation that He has already decided the outcome of. You think that moment when you pulled back, when you did not respond, when you walked away and left it in His hands, was weakness. Let me reframe your reality right now. That was not weakness. That was the most strategic move you have made in this entire season. You just stepped out of God's way. And when God has no one to work around, He works fast. What you just stepped into is not a coincidence, and it is not comfort. It is a commissioning. What you just heard wasn't entertainment. It was confirmation. And if you're ready to go deeper, the Chosen One's mantle will show you exactly why God separated you before birth, why the attacks came so early, and what He's unlocking in this season. Code by code, until you're walking the life He already wrote over you. The link is waiting in the first pinned comment, but not for long. Now let's go further, because what you just received was the foundation. But there are layers beneath this that most people never reach, and those are the layers where real transformation lives. Here is what nobody tells you about the season of stillness. It does not feel holy. It does not feel like faith. It feels like failure. It feels like watching a fire burn and being told to put down the water. And that tension, that unbearable tension between what you see and what you are being asked to do, is not a sign that God has forgotten the situation. It is a sign that He is protecting the outcome from your interference. Because here is the part that is hard to hear, but necessary to receive. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in your situation is not the enemy. It is you. Not because you are evil, not because your intentions are wrong, but because your timing is human. And God is operating on a timeline that your emotions cannot calculate. Think about Moses at the Red Sea. The water was in front of him. The Egyptian army was behind him. The people were screaming at him. And every rational impulse in his body said, move, strategize, find another route, do something. But God said, stand still. And what happened in that stillness? The sea did not part because Moses pushed it. It parted because Moses held his position long enough for heaven to do what earth could not. The miracle was not in his movement. It was in his obedience to stay put. You are standing at a Red Sea right now, and the army behind you, the pressure, the anxiety, the unanswered questions, the people who are watching and waiting to see if you crack. That army looks terrifying, but it is already defeated. You just cannot see the floor of the sea yet. You cannot see what is dry land and what is still water, because the miracle is still in motion. And if you step forward before God gives the command, you will not just miss the miracle. You will walk into the water before it has parted. But here is where it goes deeper, because there is something hidden underneath the instruction to be still that most people completely overlook. Stillness is not just a posture. It is a power. When you remove yourself from a situation that God has claimed, you are not becoming irrelevant. You are becoming lethal. You are taking your hands off the wheel and giving the Most High full access to every dimension of the problem, including the dimensions you cannot see, the ones happening in the spiritual realm, the conversations being shifted, the hearts being softened, the plans of the enemy being dismantled layer by layer while you sleep. Your absence from that situation is not a gap. It is an opening for God to move without obstruction, without the complication of your emotions, without the noise of your anxiety clouding what He is trying to communicate to the other people involved. When you stepped back, you did not leave the situation uncovered. You handed it to the only one who could actually cover it completely. And what is coming next will likely surprise you, because it always does. Stay with me. There is a reason the enemy is working so hard to pull you back in. It is not because your presence would fix things. It is because your presence would complicate things in a way that would take months to unravel. He is not trying to help you. He is trying to buy time. Every moment you spend reacting, every message you send out of anxiety, every conversation you re-enter before God releases you, to that is time redirected away from your appointed breakthrough and poured back into a cycle that should have ended already. The enemy does not need to destroy you. He just needs to delay you. And he knows that the fastest way to delay a chosen one is to convince them that obedience is passivity. But obedience is not passivity. Obedience is warfare. It is the highest form of spiritual combat available to you, because it does not just neutralize the enemy's current strategy. It exposes his entire playbook. When you refuse to react, when you hold your position, when you stand still in the middle of chaos that was designed to move you, you become unreadable. You become unpredictable. You become someone the enemy cannot manipulate, because his most powerful tool against you has always been your own impulse. And you have taken that tool out of his hand. This is where the real transformation begins, and what I am about to say next is the part that breaks the cycle for those who are ready to receive it. You have been treating this situation like something you could lose. Like if you are not careful, if you do not intervene, if you do not correct the narrative, the wrong version of this story will become permanent. You have been fighting for the ending. But what God is trying to show you is that you do not need to fight for what He has already written. You do not negotiate a verdict that has already been declared. You do not defend a position that has already been secured. The outcome of this situation is not in danger. What is in danger is your peace, and only if you choose to abandon the post. Esther did not rush into the king's court the moment she heard about Haman's plan. She called a fast. She covered herself first. She waited 3 days. 3 days of what must have felt like unbearable silence while her people's lives hung in the balance. And then, and only then, she entered. Not with desperation, not with anxiety, with preparation, with positioning, with a strategy that could only have been downloaded in the silence. The waiting was not the delay. The waiting was the preparation. And when she moved so precisely that the enemy not only lost the battle, he lost it in front of everyone. The plot that was designed to destroy her people became the very thing that elevated her, exposed Haman, and secured a legacy that is still being read thousands of years later. Your stillness is not the delay. Your stillness is the preparation. And when you move, when God says move, you will move with such precision, such clarity, such divine alignment, that the enemy will not just retreat. He will be exposed. Everything he tried to build against you will collapse under the weight of your obedience. But let me challenge you with something. Because there is a layer here that most people are not ready to confront. There is a part of you that is not just anxious about the situation. There is a part of you that is attached to your role in fixing it. There is a part of you that has built an identity around being the one who steps in, who holds things together, who does not quit, who refuses to let things fall apart. And that part of you, that part that calls itself strength, is the part that has been the most vulnerable to this attack. Because the enemy did not just target your situation. He targeted your identity. He knew that if he could frame your restraint as a betrayal of who you are, he could get you to override the very instruction that is protecting you. Coming up, the hidden root beneath your urgency. Because what you think is faith in action may actually be fear, wearing a very convincing mask. Stay with me. You have told yourself that you need to step in because you care, and you do care. That is not the lie. The lie is the conclusion that caring requires controlling. The lie is the belief that love looks like management, that faithfulness looks like intervention, that the measure of how much something matters to you is how much you are willing to force an outcome. That is not love. That is anxiety. And anxiety is not a spiritual gift. It is a counterfeit. It feels like urgency. It sounds like discernment. But it is fear with a mission statement, and it has been operating in your life as though it had authority over you. The invitation in this moment, the real invitation, is not just to be still in this situation. It is to be still inside yourself. to stop managing God's timeline with your nervous system, to release the grip that anxiety has had on your decision-making and let actual faith, not performance, not effort, not the show of being strong, but real, quiet, rooted faith, take its position in you. Because that kind of faith does not make noise. It does not announce itself. It simply holds its ground, and everything that was sent to move you discovers that you cannot be moved. And here is the part you probably did not expect. The thing that has been blocking your breakthrough is not the enemy's strategy. It is not the person who wronged you. It is not the situation that is still unresolved. It is the part of you that has not yet fully believed that God can handle this without your help. Deep down, underneath the obedience, underneath the restraint, underneath the pause, there is still a version of you holding a backup plan, still watching the door, still calculating how much longer you are willing to wait before you walk back in, still holding a thread, just in case. And God is asking you tonight to let go of the thread. Not because he does not see your pain, not because he is dismissing how hard this has been, but because the thread you are holding is the last thing keeping you inside a cycle that should have ended already. The moment you release it, fully, completely, without a backup plan, is the moment the situation shifts. Not might shift. Shifts, because your full surrender is the final unlock. It is the last key in the door. And heaven has been waiting, not impatiently, but sovereignly, for this exact moment of complete release. You are not waiting on God. God has been waiting on you. And this is the moment. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not when it makes more sense. Not when you feel ready. Right now. In this moment, while something in your chest is burning, and something in your spirit already knows this is true. This is the moment you make the decision that changes your trajectory. Place your hand on your heart and declare this with me. I release this situation completely and without condition. I release the need to fix it, force it, or follow it. I release the identity I built around being the one who holds things together, and I receive the identity God assigned me before I was born. I am not behind. I am not abandoned. I am not forgotten. I am positioned. I am covered. I am in the middle of a divine setup that is already decided in my favor. I break every agreement I made with anxiety, with urgency, with the lie that my stillness means nothing is moving. Something is moving. Heaven is moving. And I trust what I cannot yet see. I let go of the thread. I step off the battlefield I was never assigned to, and I step into the rest that God prepared for those who trust him fully. My obedience is a weapon. My stillness is a strategy. And my surrender is the most powerful thing I have ever done. It is finished. I receive it now. If that prayer landed in your spirit, do not let this moment pass without marking it. Drop the word still in the comments right now. Not just as an engagement action, but as a declaration that you have made this decision. That you have released what you have been carrying. And that you are trusting God to handle what your hands were never meant to hold. Let this community of chosen ones stand with you in this moment. And if someone in your life is fighting this exact battle right now, someone who woke up this week with that same weight in their chest, share this message with them. Because what broke open in you today may be the very thing that breaks the cycle for someone who is one moment of obedience away from their turning point.